to ensure the sports thrives in Nigeria. And sports editor Promise Efoghe is in Abuja right about now. Promise, good evening. It's good to have you on the show.
Hi, Samson. Good evening. How are you doing today?
I'm all right. How's Abuja?
Abuja is clement, quite hot as well.
It is definitely the weather. So, you've been in touch with some of the top dignitaries or officials of the National Sports Commission, and we know quite well that with the new year, they have definitely a mandate from the president concerning sports development in Nigeria. Keep us abreast of what's happening with the Nigerian National Sports Commission, I beg your pardon.
Absolutely. You know, the Sport Ministry metamorphosed to the National Sports Commission, and two persons have been saddled with the responsibility to drive the future of Nigerian sports. The chairman of the National Sports Commission, Shehu Diko, is not unknown as far as the Nigerian sports fraternity is concerned. He's been a part of the Nigerian football family for a long time. He understands the Nigerian sports sector very well. He's been assisted by a director general who is also extremely familiar with the Nigerian sports sector, and certainly these two persons, conversations around their appointment have been one-sided. Everyone has been saying the same thing, that it's about the first time in the history of Nigerian sport where we have square pegs in square holes, you know, and this has really driven a lot of expectations as regards what Nigerians want to see, what direction they will steer Nigerian sports to. Samson, I have with me the Director General of the National Sports Commission. I'm right in his office, Bukola Olopade, on the program today, live on the show. Thank you so much for being a part of the program today, and thank you for spending your time with us today.
Thank you, Promise. Thank you, TVC. Happy New Year to all of our viewers.
All right, it's actually the first time I'm seeing you in a very long while anyways. So let me start by asking you, Director General, you became the DG of the National Sports Commission at the very latter part of 2024. You know, so before then, as a neutral, how would you describe Nigerian sports, you know, in 2024? Was it good? Was it bad? Was it ugly?
I've never been a neutral. I've always been a stakeholder, a major stakeholder in sports. Don't also forget that in the private sector, my only business was sports. And so calling me a neutral is like... But to answer your question, one would effectively say it was a sort of mixed feelings in terms of what we recorded last year in sports. But I'm a pathological optimist that likes to be progressive and I like to look forward. The icing on the cake that topped all other achievements in sports last year was the establishment of the National Sports Commission by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the father of the nation. And I thought going forward we should concentrate on looking at the progress we can achieve together with the Sports Commission rather than dwelling on the past and on what some analysts or people will refer to as a mixed fortune for the country. And I think I want to restrict myself to looking forward rather than dwelling on the past.
Okay. Well, views have been very divergent, you know, since the Federal Ministry of Sports was, metamorphosed into a sports commission, you know. Why do you think a sports commission was necessary at the time it came to be?
I mean, the jury is no longer out there, the judgment is out there. You said it in your intro that unarguably everybody that I've spoken about the appointment of Malam Shehu Diko and myself have been unanimous in the decision to say that for the first time, sports technocrats, people who have spent decades, combined in number, over 50 years of sports experience has been put in place to run our sports. Why the Sports Commission? It's very simple. We've always clamored for a corporate appearance of sports so that sport can be seen from the point of view of business, and sports can be seen from the point of view of a veritable tool of empowerment that can be organized using a corporate structure, a corporate governance structure. And the only way to do that was through a sports commission, because when you look at the Ministry of Sport, the first thing that came to mind when it was the Ministry of Sport to an outsider was, oh, public sector bureaucracy. But the first thing that comes to mind when you talk about the Sports Commission is, oh, there is a new corporate approach to the way things will be done. There's a new corporate approach with the way athletes will be looked after. But more importantly, sports economy, that is extremely important to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has now been brought to the front burner. Don't forget that people like the former minister, Sunday Dare, were very high and hard on creating a sports ecosystem that was going to empower a lot of people using a sports economic policy and strategy. And this is what we can do with the refocused energy of the Sports Commission. And if every time you hear the chairman, Malam Shehu Diko, talk, he talks about RAINS. RAINS is a beautiful acronym for Renewed Hope Initiative on Sports Economy. You know, and that just tells the story of what the Sports Commission is all about. It's about creating new champions, new breadwinners, not just those who play the sport, but those who can report sports in a business-like manner, those who can talk about sports in a business-like manner, those who are going to be sports entrepreneurs. We need more sports entrepreneurs. Right now we're scratching the wall. It's funny we're having this interview. A few hours ago, a gentleman called Efoghe, who is arguably the most reported or the biggest esports journalist, came into the office, and we had an engaging discussion on why esports is extremely important to the economy of Nigeria, because it creates a lot of jobs. And to his own confusion, he still cannot understand why we do not have enough journalists and media guys in esports, knowing the kind of economic drive and economic initiative and empowerment that can come from just being part of esports. And the Sports Commission, as we've emphasized so many times in the last few weeks, are serious, are deliberate. We are deliberate about organizing esports, amongst other sports, to create new breadwinners, to empower young people. 46 million young Nigerians are into esports, 46 million. And I asked the question today, I said, what does the data show in terms of employment generation with esports? And he said to me, over 3 million are gainfully employed. What do I mean by that? My question to Efoghe was direct. Efoghe, can you tell me from your head how many young boys and girls, young men and women are making naira and kobo as take home from esports? And he said between 300,000 and 3 million. That is a huge number that should speak towards our GDP. That's a huge number that these statisticians should look at to understand that the power of sports is very, very strong. And we have a Sports Commission under the leadership of Malam Shehu Diko and myself that are determined to ensure that this is brought to the front burner.
Okay, before we talk about the RAINS acronym and the purpose for that, your appointment as DG at some point really didn't come as a surprise to many, because, I mean, you've been in the sport ecosystem. I mean, there's barely any marathon race in Nigeria where your name is not associated to, you know. You've assumed office a couple of weeks now. With what you've seen, how much work do you have to do to reposition Nigerian sports?
Shehu Diko and I are problem solvers, and we have a mentor, a father in President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who is an effective problem solver. So we are in a good stead. And when you look at what we've achieved so far in 6 weeks, you understand that the intentionality of moving sport from whatever you knew it to be is very strong. You look at the budget that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu presented on behalf of sports. You look at his willingness to allow us to visit him and sit down with him on the round table. These are huge achievements. It simply means we have access to the president of the country, which means we can request for things that are needed to move sports forward. But that's not the only access we have. We have access to the private sector. There's literally no MD of any multinational that Shehu and I cannot call to support sports. There's literally no agency within government that we cannot relate with. Sports needs that sort of network. Sports needs that sort of energy in order for us to be able to say, okay, we need XYZ amount of money to drive this initiative in cricket, in esports, in athletics, in karate. Let's do it. But beyond that, we're also creating strategies to show that there is a new corporate approach to the way we are doing sports business from the Sports Commission. One of the things we've looked into and that has effectively been pushed to the federations is that every federation must have a chief operating officer that will be recruited from the private sector. We have a lot of Gen Zs who are willing to come into sports, who are very intellectually gifted, who are willing to drive their energy towards organizing sports in a different way that we used to know. That is one thing we've introduced. Beyond that, we are looking at the sports economic policy and we're looking at ways of bringing it to bear so that it can empower and touch lives of so many people. Things that my boss, Madam Shehu is also willing to do. And of course, like you rightly said, my life is all about sport. And my life in sport has always been about empowering indigent children, creating breadwinners, creating businesses that young people can say, tomorrow, I want to be part of this sort of industry. I'm very proud to say today that some of the prodigies who have worked under me when I was at Lion Sports Management today are sports business owners of their own. You can think of Sheyi Johnson, who is the owner of Brazos. You can think of Damola Pedro of Gamers. I can go on and on. Such is the kind of mentality we have here at the Sports Commission, National Sports Commission, that he had discussed with the president on how to galvanize Nigerian youths towards enjoying the benefits of sports business. So the ecosystem that we are trying to create is such that the sports economy is in the front border to create empowerment. I've said this many times, to create empowerment. I know people at home will be thinking, even as a sports media person, there's so many opportunities that are about that through this RINS initiative, so many people can be empowered on.
Absolutely. All right, I want to say a very big thank you to you, Director General, National Sports Commission, for your time on the program today, and we wish you and Malam Shehu Diko the very best of luck in your new assignment. Well, Samson, at this point, I may want to just hand it back over to you. You heard all the DG has said, and the Nigerians can begin to anticipate good and better things to come in Nigerian sports in the nearest future.
Okay, thank you very much, Premise. We can only wish the DG as well as the chairman of the National Sports Commission the very best in developing Nigerian sports further, especially creating